Hello, my name is Robbie Fitzwater. I own and operate Marketing Rhythm. We help e-commerce businesses with retention marketing, and basically doing that through a lot of email marketing and SMS marketing. One of the questions we get asked all the time is, how do I plan my marketing calendar for the year? And we have a lot of different concepts and things we use to do this, and we wanted to help unpack it for you to just to make it a little bit easier and just to give you a good footing to start to make these decisions. Typically starting around like when the holiday rush slows down, that's when everybody starts to really plan for the year. We want to help you get ahead of that and hopefully help you succeed and really rock 2023, 2024, whatever year this may be. One of the ways we always want to start about like thinking about this is in terms like, what is a marketing calendar? Yearly marketing calendar is basically the roadmap that you're going to use to start to bring some of the marketing goals you have to life during the course of the year. It's going to help you align and structure your marketing at a high level where you can start to bring it to life in a little bit more granularity each quarter and each month. So basically, this is going to be the skeleton that you're going to use to put meat on the bones through your monthly and quarterly planning. So this is going to give you a high level view of how to approach your marketing during the year, what opportunities may be present, what you want to shoot for, what tent poles you want to focus on. And when you can think about those things in a holistic lens, you can really start to get more strategic in the planning of this. So you're not necessarily shooting from the hip, as we like to say, but you're getting more strategic and more proactive and on your toes as opposed to on your heels in your marketing. So we'll walk through like some of the nuts and bolts components of this, why it's important, and how to start to actually build one yourself. And hopefully by the end of this, you're going to be able to feel like a rock star in planning your yearly calendar and getting ahead of the next year in terms of how you're bringing it to life and what you want to achieve. So one of the reasons we always think a marketing calendar is so important, basically this connects your goals with how you're going to bring them to life during the year, and also accounts for the timing and implementation of different pieces. So if you know you have a code freeze going on in September to December, if you're that, again, e-commerce businesses, you're not messing with the code base, your site that much during that time. You can't do a lot of heavy lifting in that window. So if you know you have a code freeze, you're planning for that. You're addressing that. You may be building stuff ahead of time so you know, hey, we need to be thinking about the holidays early in August and September so we're not scrambling, but when are we going to build all those assets? When are we going to be focusing on getting our heads down and getting all this stuff built? This allows you to do that a lot more effectively. Allows you to plan creative and content for what you're going to need at different times of the year, but it also allows you to take inventory of what you already have and how you can repurpose it at different times of the year, and to start to kind of connect the dots with, this is going to be great, this worked really well, how do we recycle that and repurpose it so we can get more life out of that. We have clients that we've worked with for a few years now that we get to kind of go through the year and we basically get to play the hits. And it's really fun because the content we've used, it's performed well. We get to enhance it and improve it. And then we get to really keep those wheels turning on like, hey, this worked really well here. Let's borrow that again. This worked really well here. We can use it as a lead into this. And we get to act a lot more strategically as opposed to kind of sorting through those things. And that's one of the real advantages to this, is we can think proactively in a long window of time ahead of time. So what are some of the nuts and bolts pieces that should go into your marketing calendar during the year? We always like to think about a high-level view of your goals and the strategies you're going to use to bring this to life. So your goals are to increase the number of new customers. Your goals are to increase the number of repeat customers. How are you going to do that? So, hey, we're going to introduce 2 new automations a month that are going to be focusing on bringing in repeat customers. We're going to focus on the retention aspect of our business, and that's how we're going to be focusing on this. We're going to get really excited about acquisition starting in August, when we want to be acquiring new customers. We may not be converting them, but we want to be building our list in August so we're ready to go to convert all those customers during the holiday window. So those are all things that we want to be thinking about. What are our goals at different times of the year? How are we going to bring those goals to life? And then we can start to get into some of the tactics we're going to use to bring those to life with, like, hey, we're going to send 4 campaign emails every single week. We're going to send to different segments. We're going to focus on these segments first, and then we're going to get to those other segments next. We're going to distribute content every other week or every week, so we know that we have a drumbeat and a consistent rhythm of communication with our customers or clients. Those are the things we're going to be really thinking about early in this, and that's how we want to be starting to kind of think through what are those tactics we're going to use. So we say, okay, if we're doing that every week, that's 52 emails we need to be sending. Again, we don't need to put those in our yearly calendar. We can have a rough idea of that. But like I said, this is a skeleton that you're going to put a little bit more meat on afterwards. This is going to give you kind of the framework, and then you can build those out a little bit more, with a little bit more granularity as you get into the quarterly and monthly nuts and bolts planning of these. But this just gives you that high level view in which you can use to kind of sort through what's going to work, what's not, and then how to bring those to life. You also want to think about how you're also connecting this with other sales and marketing initiatives. Because especially, again, if you're an e-commerce business, if you're a larger e-commerce business, even a smaller e-commerce business, how does this connect across your organization? You really want to be thinking about this strategically, because you're probably, if you're thinking about this strategically early, you may be one of the only groups doing this, hopefully not. But if you are, you get to be the one who really leads this discussion in terms of your marketing organization and also your organizational strategy moving forward. So this is something you want to be thinking about. What other marketing and sales activities do we want to incorporate into this? And what are the other teams doing that we want to use to make sure that we have everything included here? That holistic engagement really helps. And then what are the key dates we want to be planning on for our business? That kind of goes into the marketing initiatives, but are there other key dates that are going to be really relevant for us? Like if I'm a cosmetics brand, maybe Valentine's Day, maybe this time. If I'm a heavy gifting business, again, the holidays are really important, but like maybe Mother's Day is a window where there's a lot of traffic and a lot of really good stuff to work on. How do we kind of understand what those key dates for us are and really start to put pins on those so we can start thinking with a little bit more structure around there? And then what are the different segments we're going to focus on at different times of the year? We know that our audience is not going to be totally in love with us at all different times of the year, but what are the different segments we're going to serve? How are we going to serve them? Do we have some segments that are really heavy gift givers? Do we have some segments that are purchasing for themselves? All of those things are going to be something you really want to consider. Hey, we have a lot of gifting activity going on leading into Mother's Day. We have a lot of gifting activity going on leading into the holidays. But during the other times of the year, we may not be reaching that gifting segment as much. How do we want to collect data at different times of the year? What data we want to collect, and when are we going to use that? So are we building a VIP list at different times of the year? Are we doing that consistently during the year to our second-time customers through a post-purchase sequence, or are we doing that through a popover that serves up the second time somebody's purchased? Those are all things we want to be thinking about, and how we're kind of starting to bring some of those nuts and bolts to life, and how we can think strategically about these. So again, those nuts and bolts pieces, you're going to start to place for yourself based on what's going to work for your business. And then when we're building that calendar, what are some of the other things we want to be thinking about? I always like to take a look at the year in review and do kind of a post-mortem of what's worked, what hasn't, where did we place our bets that didn't turn out, where did we see a lot of surprises, and what can we understand to use and leverage moving forward. Like I said, we have clients that have used this for many, like some of these strategies and structures for many times over, and it's worked out really well because, hey, we know this time of year people are engaged with this kind of content. We can really start to play the hits there, and we're not reinventing the wheel all the time, and it really helps us get a lot of great structure for our calendar. I always like to think about this in terms of like what's on the mind of your customer at different times of the year. This is going to be a really important piece because like this is that broad view of like what's important. I always think of like the Walmart has like the Mind of Mom calendar where they think like, hey, what's on mom's mind during the course of the year? They can focus on that because like they know, hey, new year, new you in January is going to be focusing on like getting organized and tightening up the budget, doing all those things because new year people are running into it with goals and hopes. This is when everybody's joining a gym. This is when everybody's like getting active. Going into the spring, everybody's starting to think about spring break and travel and holiday. That's again important. Going into the summer, people are starting to think about travel during the summer too. So again, a little bit all over the place. Again, going into the fall, people are starting to think about back to school. Going into the holidays, people are thinking about the holidays. Those are the main like kind of drivers of people's decision making during those times of the year. And so you really want to be thinking about those things proactively so you can match your marketing calendar to what's going to be contextually relevant for your audience, which plays a huge role in like how you're going to be focusing your marketing calendar. Also, your seasonality and demand is also going to be very different depending on the business you're in. Basically, like your peaks and valleys are all going to be different relative to your business. Like I used to work in higher ed marketing. marketing for a university. And during the summer, it was crickets. We had to get super creative during the summer. It was a lot more difficult to keep people engaged, but that's a great time to start to experiment and start to explore. And you can kind of build that into your calendar. It's like, hey, this is the time we're going to take some bets. We're going to try some things and see what works and see what sticks that we can leverage and borrow later on. But that summer or that slow time of the year is when you can really start to experiment and do some really cool things. And that's what we always recommend. So how does it fit into the seasonality and context of the year? Always really important to think about. Also for e-commerce businesses, if you're in e-commerce businesses, where are your sales peaks going to be during the different times of the year? Again, everybody knows Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Yes, you're probably going to be having a big sales peak, but building those in strategically at different times of the year is going to also be really important to think about, because again, you don't want to be having too many sales events, because when everything's on sale, nothing is on sale. But when are you going to strategically pull the lever to drive a higher volume? That's what we really want to be thinking about. Like, we want to be, again, doing that ever so often during the year, where we have a larger sale, a larger promotion, where we can blow up a balloon and let it get really big before we pop it. So every time, if we're blowing up a balloon and we pop it every week, that balloon's not going to be very big every week. It's going to be like pop, 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 and everything kind of levels out. But if we can really blow that balloon up large and have a really big pop during that window, we can build anticipation. We're not sacrificing margin through discounting, but we're also getting a little bit more cushion during the course of the year, and we can probably drive a lot more volume doing that strategically, as opposed to just like, again, sale here, sale, 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 sale. So those are also things we're going to be thinking about, where our sales peak's going to fit into it. Understanding the peaks and valleys of when your audience is more and less in love with you during the year. Like I mentioned, that time where everybody's like less in love is the time where you want to experiment and explore, and time when they're most in love is the time where you want to implement what you learned during that time you're experimenting and really start to take advantage of it. You want to be understanding like what's going to, again, what dates are relevant, what's going to be important, and then what at a high level view is going to be you're going to be doing each month. So let's look at this year in context. We'll take say you're an athletic brand, for example. We'll take like cycling. Cyclists, during the course of the year, different types of cycling brands are going to be able to do something differently. So we may be looking at a few different peaks in the year. Going into the winter, January, it's cold. How do you stay warm cycling in the winter? Also, you may not have as large of an engaged audience this year. So this may be your valley where you're going to be doing your experimenting. So this quarter, again, this is where you want to be doing a lot of experimenting. Going into the spring, you know your audience is going to be thinking about, okay, I'm leaving that writing in the cold. You should have communicated writing in the cold going into the winter, but hey, we're leaving the winter. How do I get used to writing in the warmer weather? What do I need for writing in the warm weather? I'm just busting out all my gear from a previous season. I realized like, hey, this is a little bit dingy. This is not going to necessarily work for me anymore. There's holes in this. How do I need to know if I need something new? That's where you want to be communicating. So what are they going to want to need during that time? And also, building that sales peak in here gives us a really great opportunity to drive more volume in here. So we may be experimenting and with our messaging in these 2 months, in January and February, and then we may be building into a sale or a promotional event going into March, where we know that we're going to hopefully have a little bit more volume we can take advantage of. And hopefully we know that seasonal change is going to give people a reason to dive deeper. And again, that promotion may not necessarily be promotion. That may be unveiling of a new line. That may be a lot of different things, but you want to be building that momentum at different times. Those promotions really do help for an e-commerce business to get more people over the fence and again, over the goal line to try something for the first time. But also you want to be actively engaging and communicating those things during the year for what they're going to contextually need. So if, again, they're getting ready for riding in the spring, and that may be going into the summer when there's even more interest in your brand. So again, you go from like low level of interest to a higher level of interest just because people are going to be riding more and more and more during the course of the year. It may drop off in terms of how much they're riding, but again, that use of the product is going to be taking that pattern during the course of the year. So that's how in love they're going to be. So again, taking advantage of this time for experimentation, that's important. So again, building in that sales peak too, you're also going to be capturing more volume in terms of sales because you want to be like taking advantage of this inflection point here. These sales peaks, you may mimic this in terms of like what kind of volume you're going to have during the course of the year, but the sales peaks are really meant to build into your marketing calendar where you're going to have a higher volume in months that you can, and hopefully piggyback off that. So as opposed to, again, selling at this level, you may have your sales peaks pushing your volume up at a higher level, but also decreasing the difference in those changes too. So the sales peaks really help you, like having, again, a sales peak in the midsummer. Typically, it's kind of like why Amazon has Prime Day. They give a reason to have a large sale event during the course of the year. Amazon has 2 Prime Days now because they want more reasons to have large sale events. When you can build those in and strategically think about those, you're going to be able to capture more volume at different times of the year. So it gives you just a little bit more cushion at those times. And then you also know that you're going to have a large sale event going into this. So starting in October, you're going to be building into your Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Again, I'm drawing lots of different things on here, but those are kind of the general trajectory that you know that you're going to be taking. So you want to be, again, building this in and piggybacking off the anticipation people are going to have around getting ready for a new season. You want to be taking advantage as much as possible of those seasons that you know are going to be really high in a peak, like people are writing more in the summer, it's warm, more hours of the day. Yes, take advantage of that. But also when that's decreasing, you're maybe getting rid of summer inventory and to shed some of that through a sale event or a promotion. And then also you're going into the holidays where you want to be building anticipation and driving as much sales volume as you can. And then again, hopefully when you get those peaks built in, you're going to be capturing more during that time as opposed to selling through here. You're going to hopefully be selling in a larger range. And basically what it's going to do is going to decrease the amount of peaks and valleys you're going to have. But you want to be thinking about that, hey, how do I build 3 to 4 different sales peaks in the year in addition to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, to think about what type of volume we're going to be selling at those times? How do we pair those with what's contextually relevant for your audience at those times? And then also that's where you're going to be adding those key dates or the rhythm of your consistent weekly or biweekly sends from the email perspective. But from all of those different angles, you're going to be able to think really strategically about like, hey, we know we want to get people ready for the spring leading into here. This is when we're experimenting. This is when we've learned all these things through our experiments. We want to implement them here. Again, maintaining attention and consistently using that, we want to be able to be relevant and engaging. We also know, hey, the sales peak during here, we also know they're going to be going into a new season. We may be shedding warm weather inventory, or we may be really promoting our cold weather inventory. So those are going to be really seasonal, but really helpful. And then going into here, we know we want to be pulling out all the stops. That's when we really start to implement a lot of things we've done during the year to maximize our holiday revenue and hopefully keep those wheels turning. But again, this is going to depend on your business. It's going to vary by your business and category. Again, we have clients who are in the coffee business. Coffee dips down during the summer and peaks in the winter. Those are all going to be relative and seasonal, but you have to really understand that seasonality and really start to use that to strategically plan this. Again, connecting all these dots is going to be really helpful for you to start to think about what you want to accomplish during the year, how you want to accomplish that. And then, like I mentioned, those seasonal peaks is really a way to start to bring more sales volume in during that time. So as opposed to like a consistent level of sales, you will, again, push those boundaries a little bit farther upwards than they normally would be, and you can capture a little bit more volume than you normally would. And then, like I said, if you're the one planning this for the marketing organization, you want to bring this to other parts of your organization to make sure that it's going to be in alignment. But essentially, planning for the year, it doesn't have to be the exact detailed plan for every day and month of the year, but you really want to use this as the structure and skeleton for your marketing calendar for the year that gives you a way to strategically think about, hey, what do we want to do this quarter? What do we want to do this quarter? What do we want to do this quarter? Really thinking about those strategically. And then also, once you're to those quarters, you want to be breaking those into months. Once you're to those months, you want to be breaking those months down about a month out ahead of time. So you're thinking about, it's August, what are we going to do in October? It's September, what are we going to do in November? And that's where you can really start to get more granular here, where you can really think strategically about what to do and when, and then you can start to backfill what needs to fit into each one of those places. So again, marketing calendar for the year, it doesn't seem super important early on, but this is just going to give you, again, that roadmap for how you're going to bring those goals to life during the course of the year, and how and when you're going to start to implement different components of your marketing to make sure you're successful. At the end of the day, you're driving revenue, you're looking good, and hopefully having some fun with it too. So hopefully this is helpful. If there's anything I missed or have any questions, let me know. Again, love talking shop on this. And if you have any questions, let us know. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.